Professor tears up black student's diploma on TV. What he did next shocked everyone. A good-for-nothing like you doesn't deserve this diploma. Go back to Africa with your people, little black girl, shouted Mr. Victor Sterling as he tore up the black teenager's diploma in front of millions of people. What he didn't know was that he was about to end his entire career and reputation. The Pinecrest Academy's awards ceremony was being broadcast live on Channel 3, with a present audience, local press, and a sea of cell phones recording every moment. Center stage was Professor Victor Sterling, dressed in a dark suit and with a rigid demeanor. He was preparing to deliver the night's final recognition, the Academic Excellence Diploma, an award given to only one student per generation. He held the diploma with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The name boomed over the loudspeakers. Naomi Davies, a 17-year-old girl with dark skin, firm steps, and a face illuminated by a mix of pride and humility, walked onto the stage. Her mother recorded with trembling hands. Her father clapped fiercely with pride from the second row. When Naomi reached the center of the stage and extended her hands to receive her diploma, Victor looked her up and down with disdain and did not hand it over. "What are you doing here, black girl?" he said with a twisted smile. "Do you think you're worthy of this?" Naomi looked at him, confused. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "A good-for-nothing like you. A stupid black girl shouldn't be here." Victor spat coldly. There was a muffled murmur. Some people thought it was a bad joke, but sadly it wasn't. "What did you do to get here?" Sleep with a professor, cheat, beg for pity with your sad neighborhood story," he continued with a calm, poisonous voice. "Here we reward excellence, not charity. You better go back to Africa, little black girl. You don't belong here. The only thing you deserve is this." And with a brutal gesture, he tore the diploma in two. He shredded it in front of her eyes and let the pieces fall to the floor. Naomi didn't blink. She remained frozen, staring at the remnants of the diploma. The applause died out. Naomi's parents suddenly rose. Her mother screamed her name, trying to reach the stage. A professor tried to intervene, but security guards stopped everyone. No one understood what was happening. The television was still broadcasting live. This institute does not tolerate fraud. Recognition is for those who truly deserve it, not for just anyone who learned to write their name between drugs and gunshots. Naomi still hadn't moved, but her eyes were no longer confused. Now they burned with contained rage, with violated dignity. She swallowed. She felt her legs weaken, but forced herself to speak, to hold herself together. "That's not true," she said with a broken but firm voice. "I worked hard. My grades are real. You can check them. I didn't steal anything from anyone." Professor Victor looked at her, as if she were a talking cockroach. "You worked hard?" He laughed with contempt, approaching the microphone. "Please, can you even read? Or did you just memorize like all of you do?" "I don't need to memorize. I studied," insisted Naomi, taking a step forward with tears welling up but not falling. "What you're doing is racism. You are humiliating me only because of my color." Victor raised an eyebrow, and his voice became harsher. "Zazasim." Of course, always with the same excuse. "You know what? If you don't like this country, leave. Go back to your people, to your jungle, to beat drums and raise monkeys. This," he held up the broken pieces of the diploma, "is for people, not for trash like you." A murmur of horror crossed the auditorium. Several people rose from their seats. A woman screamed, "That was too much," but Victor didn't stop. "The only ones applauding you are those who feel guilty. But those of us who have truly worked know that all this," he gestured to include Naomi, the stage, and a broken diploma, "is part of the politically correct circus." Naomi felt something break inside her. The words stopped coming out. The tears began to run down her cheeks. She couldn't hold back. The crying came in waves: rage, shame, helplessness. She covered her face with her hands. The Channel 3 camera focused on her close-up. Millions saw her break down live. The dignity with which she had ascended was slipping through her fingers. Her mother screamed from below. Her father ran up the stairs. And yet, Victor kept talking as if nothing was happening, as if he wasn't being recorded from 5 different angles, as if he didn't know that on the other side of the transmission, millions of people were already recording, sharing, commenting, and ignited with fury at that moment. The atmosphere changed, not because of what was said, but because of the silence that followed. A thick silence, as if the whole world was holding its breath. And then a sharp cry was heard from the sides of the stage. A figure burst out from behind the curtain, pushing the technicians aside. It was Dr. Eleanor Vance, the Institute's deputy director and academic committee advisor. Her face was distraught, and she held something in her hand, a blue folder with the official seal of the Ministry of Education. "Victor, what have you done?" she exclaimed with a trembling voice, but full of fury. The professor turned, annoyed by the interruption. "I'm doing what everyone thinks but doesn't dare to say," he retorted with cynicism. "I'm cleaning up this institute." Eleanor didn't answer him. She walked directly to the microphones, practically pushing him aside. "Silence, everyone," she shouted to the audience, on the verge of tears. "You need to hear this." She opened the folder with trembling hands and held a document up to the cameras. "This is an external audit from the ministry, signed 2 days ago, with the results of the National Excellence Tests." She took a deep breath. "And Naomi Davies not only has the highest scores in the institute, but the highest in the entire district." The auditorium exploded in shouts. Some applauded, others cursed. Victor froze. His lips parted, but no words came out. Eleanor turned to him. "And you knew it, Victor. You signed these results. You hid them." But the most brutal part was neither the document, nor the shouts, nor the denunciation. It was Naomi. She was on the floor, kneeling, trembling with her hands covering her face, and between heartbreaking sobs, her broken voice was heard saying, "Why do you hate me so much? What did I do to you?" That whisper, captured by the lapel microphone, broke the heart of half the country. And then, slowly, Victor lowered his gaze. He was sweating, his mouth opening and closing. He took a step back as if the stage had turned to ice. The cameraman focused on his face close-up, and for the first time, something broke in his eyes. He said nothing. He couldn't. Only then did he seem to realize what he had done. Only then did Victor understand that there was no silence, but judgment. A murmur grew in the stands, a tide of angry voices, a wave of indignation impossible to stop. The cameras no longer followed him with respect. They stopped him, transmitting every minimal tremor of his face to thousands, then millions of screens. "Get him off the stage," someone shouted from the audience. "That man can't keep teaching," roared another voice. A group of students rose with improvised banners made with program sheets and markers. A crying student held a sign that read, "Naomi, we are all with you." The deputy director, Eleanor, still holding the document, approached the microphone. "This institute does not endorse what happened. Mr. Sterling will be immediately suspended, and a disciplinary process will be initiated." The applause was deafening. Victor tried to say something, to raise a hand, but no one was listening anymore. His voice was lost in boos. Several journalists rushed onto the stage. The flashes blinded him. For a moment, he seemed to look for someone, perhaps an accomplice, perhaps himself, but he only found furious faces. Naomi was still kneeling with her mother hugging her and her father in front of her like a shield. The channel's technicians looked at each other. No one dared to cut the transmission. The whole country was watching it on social media. The name Naomi Davies was already a global trend. Meanwhile, an institute guard whispered to Victor, "You'd better leave, Professor." But he didn't move. His hands hung at his sides, empty. He looked at the pieces of the diploma at his feet. Broken papers, undone letters. They looked like pieces of his own life. A journalist approached, microphone in hand. "Professor Sterling, do you have anything to say to Naomi Davies or the public watching you?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Just an awkward, thick, unbearable silence. And then, his frozen face appeared on the auditorium's giant screen, the image that in seconds would become a symbol of national repudiation. A white, sweaty man with a lost look and trembling lips, facing a crying black teenager. Outside the auditorium, sirens began to sound. And while journalists pushed each other, while the crowd shouted for justice, while the echo of his own racist voice pursued him, Victor understood that his career ended right there, live in front of the entire country. There was no redemption, only cameras, only fury, only the unbearable weight of the irreversible.